Hi everyone, welcome to GenerationX. This is a podcast for NextGen Apparel Limited, or Next Generation Clothing, as you will very much well know it now, since we recently, I guess, refreshed our branding. It's probably the best way to say it. I'm Daniel, I'm the CEO, and this is David, he's the COO. In case anyone doesn't know what COO means, it means Chief Operations
Officer.
And Chief Executive Officer. We run NextGen Apparel Limited. Basically, this podcast is kind of, us taking the opportunity to be able to, I guess, operate, communicate with you guys a little bit more, talk about esports in general, apparel within esports, various topics that have happened in the previous week. The plan is that we're going to try and do this every single week. Hopefully there'll actually be enough drama, and to be honest, with esports there's always something going on, so we'll probably have a fair amount. It doesn't even need to be drama. Most of what we're talking about isn't drama. I'm not that type of guy. But I guess we wanted to do this because it's about to go into a very big season for us, so we really want to be able to feel like we can connect with you guys a whole lot more, because we love seeing the posts of you guys posting up being like, hey, I got my order, it looks great. Those are fantastic, and occasionally you get the other side of things where people are like, I'm too happy with this and that, and the one thing people don't actually realize is we actually love hearing all of that, because when someone's like, oh, I don't like this, well, hate to a degree, because there's constructive hate or constructive criticism, really.
I'm looking at a really good example of just hate. Like, I can see it.
What do you mean?
Think, Daniel, think. It's within your frame.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, so for example, the jersey up here, like basically in the office that I work in most of the time, I've got jerseys lined the wall, which are basically just of teams that we've worked with, products that we've kind of had left over because either some person's refunded their order and stuff. But a few of these, like, they were misprints or such. But that team specifically, there wasn't any constructive criticism a lot of the time from them. It was very much just like, you're the worst, we hate you, wah! And like, the problem with that is that it doesn't help us. Like, I'm perfectly happy to take constructive criticism to be like, hey, you could do this better. Cool, I'll look into a way to see if I can do this better and make our overall service better. But when you're just telling me I'm a piece of such and such, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help. And mental health is such a big thing in the world already that people really need to think about what they're saying to people. Like, the weird thing is, it's like, even with simple things like emails of someone asking about their order, they'll just email and just go, where the F is my order?
Like, it doesn't hurt us, though. That's the thing, because, like, me and you are so used to it at this point. Like, we've built thick skin to this kind of, connection with teams, I guess is what I'll say. But whenever we bring on someone new, it's scary because, especially in customer service, I remember whenever Lewis started, he called me, and he was like, hey, bro, what are these emails? I go, they're not towards you, it's fine. Like, there's some hate. But then he'd call me on the on and off, and he'd be like, hey, just so you know, this email came through, and he'd send me a screenshot. It'd be this really nice email of, I love my order, yada, yada, yada. I get my jacket next week, speaking of which. So next week, everyone gets to see that,
Hey, yeah, you do.
I hope so.
No, it's on the way. You have a tracking number. Use it.
It left England yesterday.
Oh, that's good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's
so hopefully it might not take too long to get to you, actually.
Yeah, it won't be next year. It's okay.
Brilliant.
But, like, a lot of people don't realize why we stand where we stand. Like, we've worked, both of us, like, I've only been here since February, but we've worked really hard on, building this brand to be the best that we can build it. And it's taken some time because we've had to, plug on build your brand, but...
yeah, pretty much.
It's taken a lot of time, a lot of hard work. We had this really rough slope, but we're getting out of it now. And it took a lot of time and hard work, and me and you ruining our sleeping schedule on a weekly basis. It took a lot of work to get here, and people don't realize that. Like, this is literally, it's so much, I love it, but it's so exhausting,
Oh yeah, it's tiring for sure. Like, the thing is like, even at this point where we're now caught up and stuff, every day I come home tired because there's so much that goes on in the back end that so many people don't see. I don't know if they just ignore it or think that we're not serious, but I think a lot of people just think the process is they order And then in the world that we live in today, everyone expects everything like that, which makes it even harder in esports. And like, well, esports and custom stuff, nothing's made immediately. Like, we give 2 to 4 weeks because, like, you know, it takes time for it to be, you know, made, and it takes time for it to arrive to us. Then it takes time to ship out. Whilst also, you've also got to remember there's other orders going on. So, you know, we have weekly orders that go to our manufacturer and they sort out and it arrives to us in time. But like 2 to 3 weeks down the line, people start being like, "Hey, where's my order?" And I'm like, "Didn't you read the time frame?"
Yeah.
And they're kind of like
28 days on the site.
Yeah, and then the problem is like where people are like, "Oh, it's been 4 weeks," and I'm like, "It's working weeks, not like normal weeks." Like, people just assume that, like, I don't know why, but people assume that Saturdays and Sundays count, and I'm like, Saturdays and Sundays have never counted in the working world. Like, no one's sitting there making stuff. Yeah. So I always have to regularly explain to people, and I think the fortunate thing is, it's the one thing I'm actually glad that we kind of went through these hard times is I've really seen the character of some people.
Oh yeah.
And you know, coming back, like, I have no doubt the NextGen will be no doubt the best esports apparel company. And
we're already there, hun.
We're certainly doing we're doing our best, and like, you know, this is our strongest comeback yet, and it's only just beginning. Like, people don't actually realize how much we're not joking when we say that. We have a lot planned.
A lot, yeah. It's kind of scary because, like, you know, we have all these other companies out there and they're tweeting out like, "Oh, we got this big thing." I see their announcement. I'm like, that's literally 1/300th of the size of this one thing. That's just one out of like
that's
5.
The thing.
One out of like 5 of them that are just sitting in the corner being laid away until they're finished. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading about it. I'm like,
you can't laugh at it, but like, you know, well, yeah, you can slightly.
I kind of like, I call bluff, like, especially whenever companies are like, you know, "Oh, we got this coming," you know, and that never happens.
Well,
like,
yeah, and I think we try and stay humble in everything we do, because like the one thing I've noticed is that new companies will start up and immediately like, "We're the number one in the world," and I'm like,
okay, and then they disappear. They take 2 orders and then they disappear.
And then you're like, "What do you do different exactly that's puts you above?" Well, we got the best color quality, and I'm like, how do you know that?
Customer service?
Yeah, I'm like, how do you know that? Have you bought everybody else's product? Have you sampled, or are you just saying that because it's you? And even like one person I know, like, you know, the one thing they always tweet is like, "Oh, go to this company," and I'm like, you're not even giving reasons why. You're just, and like, I even had to tweet out when a couple of teams put us on a poll, and they were like, "Which company is the best?" And I was like, genuinely, do your research.
Well,
like,
okay, I'm sorry, Dan, to cut you off, but this really gets on my nerve.
All right.
What you just said, the polls, okay? Everyone's like, "Oh, NextGen sucks because, you know, they're not winning this poll." The thing is, we're more humble than the other. We're not retweeting that tweet because we're just empowering not the consumers, but the people that decide to avoid consuming our products. So people that are fans of other, you know, they'll see the tweet that we retweeted and they'll be like, "Oh, they're keeping an eye on us." So then they decide to vote for another team on purpose. Now, whenever it comes to like Arma or Dash Threads or something like that, you know, they've built this. Arma, I can't talk too much smack on. Arma, great company. You know, they get what they need to done. They have a new site out. It's nice, you know. But, you know, whenever it comes to like smaller companies, you know, not to call out Dash Threads, but we'll use them as an example. You know, they retweet that tweet. Devin then retweets that tweet from his personal. All of his sales reps retweet that tweet. So it gets all this more exposure to people that solely like that company. If we were to retweet that tweet, you know what I'm saying?
We crush it.
Yeah,
we
like,
crush it.
That's the thing, because me and you have big personal followings, and then everyone that's with us or close to us also have big personal followings. So that we just throw it out there. That's
there's just no point. Yeah. The problem is there's no point, and the problem is that half the time I will actually contact companies personally rather than go through this poll to be like, let me show you how we can help you. Because one thing that actually really hurts my heart is seeing a lot of these companies, they'll go somewhere else and then later on down the line, we'll see a tweet come out from them just being like, this place has the worst customer service. I haven't got my order in this long. And I'm like, that hurts, man. Because the problem is that many people don't know is that we know the characters behind the companies. We know most of the people, and we know who. I love the little lover. We know those people, and we know who cares, and we know who doesn't. And that's why, I've had beef with people like Armour before, but you know what? I will 100% give them always credit because they care about their customer. They do a good job of what they do. Now, there's an ego point in which we'll leave aside, and that's a shame. But
we can't really touch on it too much. So
it's best to not talk about that. But,
because it's personal lives. Like, people don't realize, as you were saying, like, me and you know who run these companies. Everyone knows each other. We just decide not to really talk about too much. We know the people behind Armour. We know the people behind Dash. We know the people behind, all these other big companies. But, it's whenever people are like, oh, well, he can't talk smack on them. They don't know. We do. Like, that's the thing. And they know us. That's the thing. Like, everyone doesn't realize how tight-knit. That's the one thing I love about the community. The community's tight-knit. If you work with the team, you know everyone that works for that team. Mm-hmm. You make a lot of friends, and you make them quick. But you can make a lot of enemies, and you can make them quick. So it's all depending on how you play your cards and if you play them right. That's how I've always looked at it, at least. But speaking of customer service, I think this is a good time to plug a new website.
Well, us.
Plug.
Yeah, so if those of you that don't know, we've currently got a new website being made, and I'm not gonna brag. I designed it, but I'm not sitting here being like I designed it, I'm the best. Honestly, I designed it because for me, the one thing I love is being able to be a designer in our own company because it helps to bring our vision through of what this company should be. And it's the first time I've been able to do that, and I really look forward to seeing the end result. It's being made at the moment. Why have you sent me this, David?
Well, look at it. Look what it does.
No. That's interesting, man. Yeah, they're okay. He just sent me a thing about Apple and an event there.
I'm a fanboy.
But the one thing I love about Apple is really the way they present things is beautiful.
Yeah. Their marketing is just. I don't know how they do it. It's literally just so skillful. It's genius marketing. It's. You get one in iPhone, and then you see that ad, and you're like, I
want an iPhone. Yeah. And I know it's a tangent, but the one thing I love about them is that the funny thing is, let's just start. I saw an article about competition between companies, and one thing that it kind of mentioned is most of these companies do similar products, but it's the way they present it. It's the thing about it that makes them unique as a company, that makes them different. That's what attracts their customers, not the fact that they're making a completely different product. It's how you present yourself. And the thing is, the funny thing is, with Samsung and Apple, people are always just Android's the best, and I'm
we were talking about this the other day. Yeah.
And I'm Apple are behind maybe in terms of technology, but the way they sell their product. There is a community of Apple. There is an Apple community. Can you say there's an Android community?
Yeah,
not really.
It tends to be people that like Android. But with Apple, everything is linked. I personally I'm buying a MacBook here soon. It's the only thing I'm behind on. But, Apple TV, iPad. I was never gonna buy an iPad. I saw a couple ads for it, and I was like,
I gotta get it.
Gonna go buy an iPad. Bought an iPad, iPhone. And the thing is for everything we do on a day-to-day basis, I couldn't ask for anything better. It's so seamless. I'll be on my phone, I'll have to head out, and I'll switch it over to my iPad. And I'll be on my way. I press 2 buttons. Everything's so quick, so seamless, so intertwined that I can just move from one to another.
Half the time you don't even need to press it. It'll it puts it in the cloud immediately, and then you go on your note. I go on my laptop, and my notes are there. And I'm I didn't even have to do anything. They're automatically synced.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. And with handoff, I think that was iOS 10 that was introduced. Mm-hmm. If I unlock my phone, go into Keynote, and I unlock my iPad. Bottom right, display of my iPad will have that, on my little dock, it will have Keynote, and if I open it, if I click on it, it will take me exactly where I was on my phone, and then pass it off. I'm like, whoa, like, it's stuff like that. It's the small things. They market themselves towards business. And what people don't realize is marketing towards business is the smartest thing you can do because they're the biggest spenders.
Yeah, of course.
No one else is going to drop $500,000 on, a couple hundred computers. No. They will.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize.
And that's like one small step we've kind of taken, which is working with businesses more than we do with esports, because we absolutely love esports and we'll continue to do esports forever. Probably because we want to provide the best service. Like, you don't want people to have to doubt where they're going for their product, whether they're going to get their product or this or that. We constantly pursue in being the best at that. It's why we say that we're like one of the leaders, like why we're one of the top companies. We've been around for over a year, and we've done very well at what we do. And you can see it on a regular. And the funny thing is like, I think sometimes people look at numbers of followers and go, oh, look, they're the best because they've got the most followers. But yeah, I see a lot of these cover companies, they have loads of followers, but yeah, the inactivity, like they haven't got that much activity, or they haven't got much even happening behind the scenes. Like, them well enough to be like, there's not much going on. Yeah. And the funny thing is like David works for American Eagle, if any of you don't know, and he found me. I never found him. And I think at the time it must have been maybe just hitting 3,000 followers. 3,000 followers is nothing.
1,500.
What? That's when? I didn't even know that.
I hit you up in December. Yeah, you're small. Small little
tiny.
boy. Small little boy.
Yeah. So look at that. We were nobodies. in the grand scheme of things, we're actually nobodies. And yeah, we were obviously making enough of a wave that David managed to catch it.
You're gonna make me blush. Stop this.
Lol.
Well, no, like the thing is you came up in meetings all the time. I told you about that. Like remember? If you
I thought it was just one meeting.
No, it was multiple. Like your name popped up. I was like,
wow.
Oof. And then eventually everyone found out I started working for you guys. And my boss was like, you can't be doing that. I'm like, are you going to fire me? He's like, no. I was like, that's what I thought. I was like, get out of my face.
That's funny.
Like, it's... No, but you came up all the time. It's not just you either. Like, Arma came up, big brands came up. Because they're competition in some scenes. So, they have to, people don't realize big companies like that, they know everything. Like, all these small companies, they have tabs on, And it was my job for the longest time to keep tabs on us, And I was like, oh, that's easy. I work here, right? This isn't going to be hard. What'd they do this week? Let me go pull up my little report real quick. Just
Lol.
see what we did.
This is actually like the biggest reveal. He's actually a spy. He's just never told us.
No, I'm not a spy.
He's a spy. He's a spy.
They can't know.
Just been like taking the reports he's been doing and just passing them on to A.
No, I'd get fired for that. That's against the law. That's espionage. Or espionage. What's the word I'm looking for? It's one or the other. I don't know. But
pretty much that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's always amazing to find out these things. I think I was just amazed by it for so long because I was like, it's American Eagle.
You wouldn't hire me because of it. I was so mad. I was like, I'm just going to quit.
No. Just how often does that happen? Like, legitimately. How often do you meet someone who's actually legitimate? Especially in esports, because a lot of people lie about their position. Or they use...
People do that.
I don't know why. People will be like, oh, I worked at this site, big place. And you ask them and they were like, they were here for 2 days.
I mean, at least they didn't lie, but, like, in that case, they just kind of stretched truth a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But then it's just like, it doesn't really help them. Like, I even had someone ask me recently, they were like, oh, this person worked for you. And I was just like, it's funny this person put me down because when they were here, they didn't do anything.
Which one was it? Can I get, like, initials?
You don't know him. I don't mean you know him. This was before you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oof.
That was interesting. And I just had to comment, and I was just like, don't get it.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I got a message. I'll tell you who after this, but I got a message the other day from someone. They're like, "Hey, I put you down on an application as I was a marketing manager at NextGen. Please just go with it." And I was like, "No." Like, what? Why would I do that? Like, but that it speaks volume because it says that if someone worked for us, they have confidence that if they say they worked for us, they'll land a job, and it's really heartwarming. That was backwards.
Yeah, of course.
But like at the same time, don't lie about it. If you want to be hired, apply, and I'll look at your app. And both of us will look at your application, and if you have what it takes, we'll bring you on. But like if you don't, you don't. And we'll tell you where to improve. And like, I'm not one to just say, "Oh, your application was denied. Sorry."
Oh, yeah,
Dan knows this. Like, I'll message you. I'll tell you exactly what you need to get down. And then if you come back 3 months later with that, I'm not going to say no, If you come back with exactly what I said, I can't say no because I told you what you needed. You came back with what you needed. If you come back with what you needed plus some, you'll start off at a nicer pay.
And it's the effort there that's shown. That's what I love, the effort that goes into that. So, we'll bring this into one of the topics we wanted to talk about, which was small esports teams and investment. And one of the examples I wanted to use, and the reason I use this is because I remember watching. So, if any of you watch Rocket League, the team for Cloud9, they won, I think, DreamHack.
Yep.
Damn, I don't know which one. It's like DreamHack Austin. I could probably easily look it up.
Most that long. It was a while ago.
It was a while back, but I remember watching them, and they absolutely destroyed. And they weren't with anyone. DreamHack Atlanta. That's which one it was.
No, they just murdered.
It
was insane.
Crushed, and they had no one. They weren't repping in the world. And, from that, Cloud9 picked them up. They've been with Cloud9 ever since. On salary, getting good benefits. Understandably so. They're one of the best teams.
Do you think they have healthcare?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't either.
But the thing is like, I think I see a lot of players and a lot of teams expect to have everything covered by the organization. And the one thing that players don't think about is like return on investment, ROI. And they have
Beautiful
to think
term.
from a business perspective, which is esports is risky because, especially like if you're in Call of Duty, you're picking up a team of which sometimes they've never played together, and you're kind of going, let me put you into a event with 100 other teams, and I'm hoping that you're going to make money, which is to be in the top 6. And you get a lot of people who are like, oh, I was in the top 78, and I'm like, 78? 78? That means you're nowhere near earning money. But then
it's not bad though. Like, it's a good place to start. Like,
oh, fantastic.
Teams that
yeah.
I think the best thing is whenever a team starts off, oh, we placed top 92, then we placed top 78. The next month we placed top 60. You know what I'm saying? Like the progressive working your way down. That's a team I'd invest in because they're showing progression. So once they hit, we hit top 10, 100% have my money. Because they're showing, we learned from our mistakes. We built on those, and we progressed forward.
Yeah, and it's a consistent thing as well, because a lot of teams, legitimately, one event and then they split. Because they have a little stupid argument on their teammates, and I'm just like, are you serious?
Like the big thing is with big esports teams, too. Like, it's insane to think, FaZe didn't win a match for so long, then they won a match, then they won the next 3, Optic won all these matches in a row, now they're on a losing streak.
And it happens all the time. And that's just esports, isn't it? That is just esports. And the thing is like when you win, it probably covers all of the times that you didn't. But it's still a up and down phase, and that's why a lot of these Optics dropped out of Call of Duty pretty much, I think. No, they haven't. Never mind, they have a team now. But there was a while where they didn't have a team, and all their players split off. And Scump was the only one who was still left on Optic, and everyone's just kind of like, what's going on with Optic? And hopefully they might manage to come back at least stronger than they were before.
Yeah, rip.
But they're still a team to that's worth investing. And it's certainly been an interesting thing around teams in that area because Echo Fox has removed quite a few of their teams and staff lately. Infinite Entertainment, the exact same. Pamaj just recently left Optic to go to FaZe.
Oh, that was insane. I was going to bring that up. That was so left field. Like,
I was just like, that's a move and a half. That's
bold.
for sure.
It's definitely bold because the community's going to backlash. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's always savage a little bit because people explain why they left, and usually it exposes the problems. What's going on in these companies?
Did you see? Sore Carl made a video the other day. Once Red Carl, then before that he was Phase Carl.
Right.
But whenever the Red fell apart, he moved the sword. But he was in Phase prior to that. And he made a video the other week, and it was why I really left Phase. And he made a video of it like a couple of days later. He was just bashing Phase. He was crying, and he was just talking about how it was actually his fault and how it wasn't Phase's fault. And I'm sitting there like, wow, like, I liked him for so long, but to see that he made up stuff to make him look better, to justify him leaving, to bring attention, because that garnered him so many subscribers. And that's why people leave big teams, because they're not making any progress in that team. If you get kicked, who cares? Leave before you get kicked, That's their theory. But, like, now if you look at FaZe's roster, we'll go back to Pro League. If you looked at 2 years ago, they had, like, the dream roster. They had an amazing roster. Now they just, like, I look at their roster, I'm like, who are these people? Like, I know, like, Zuma's still there, but he's the only one left from the original roster.
Yeah, the original, yeah.
It's insane. Like, they were so good together. Like, Clayster, Zuma, I can't remember the rest of any of their names. I just remember Clayster and Zuma. But it's an insane thing. Clayster was considered one of the best players out there. Then he left FaZe. And I was like, or no, he didn't leave. He got sold off. That's right.
Yeah, he got sold, yeah.
I was like, why would you? He was literally your winning.
Yeah.
Like, he was your winning player. And you just, meh. Yeah.
And it makes you wonder who's, like, running the ropes behind that. Because I'm just like, I watched the Premier League, so this is for England, football/soccer, whatever you call it, in whichever country you're in. We have a Premier League, and the one thing I really envy about teams over here is that if they've got a good player, he's not going anywhere. Like, unless he seriously wants to leave. Like,
it's the same over here with football. If you have a really good player, you're not like
even with Adele Beckham.
Yeah.
Like, his owner, the owner of his team, I don't know that much about NFL, but the owner of his team recently was like, I wish he would do more on the pitch than he would off the pitch, and a little less talking, a little bit more winning. But they're never going to sell him, and I saw one person who's commented being like, he's going to get sold, and they were like, he just got paid $20 million up front.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave $20 million.
But yeah, it's only within esports that they're just kind of like, ooh, money, yeah, sure, take it. And I'm like, really?
Like, if you look at the Patriots, right? So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Patriots fan. I don't hate them. I don't love them. But Tom Brady's considered, not in personal opinion, just in a mass opinion, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I was talking to Chandler about the other day. He's not gonna go anywhere. Patriots aren't gonna let him go. You could offer him $1 billion. Because he has this repetition. And the Patriots will always one-up whatever you're offered.
Yeah.
That's the insane thing. Because if a player's that good, we're not going to get rid of him.
That's worth it, 100%.
If you throw you have the Tom Brady of submachine guns, he's gone. We just sold him for $20. He's down the road somewhere. Like, that's the thing. It's so sad to see. Like, whenever, I talk to esports teams, I talk to their, anyone in charge, their coach, or anyone in charge of their competitive team. I always say, keep this player. He's worthwhile. Don't get rid of him. And they get rid of him. Like, and then I've seen cases, and it's the funniest thing, where, they get rid of a player, comes up competitive season. They're in a match, they've killed everyone on that team but their old player. That player just annihilates their whole team. And it really goes to show, like, this guy's got skill. You got rid of him, and yet he has the ability to take out your entire team. No problem.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm just trying to think of who this happened with recently. Who did Aches used to play for? Aches recently switched. I think he used to play for Evil Geniuses. Yeah, him and his team used to play for Evil Geniuses, and they're now under Team Envy. And they recently just switched after they were champions at the last Call of Duty event, and that confused the hell out of me because I was like, maybe Envy have the money to be able to, buy them, but at the same time, why had EG just dropped out of it? Why would you sell your best team unless you really couldn't afford to pay for them? And that's what then confuses me because I'm like, well, if you just won a team, or like if you have a team that just won an event that well, surely there is investors you can go to
and funding from winning.
Yeah, of course, exactly. So you've got the money to be able to continue to pay them, and like the amount of people have talked about Aches and been like, he's the only person who can stop Optic. He's the only person who can stop FaZe. And there's been countless times where he's been the reason why those two teams have dropped out. And yet they just sold off the best team. And you're never going to get them back. It actually confuses me because Gale Force Esports, they used to be back in, it's probably like earlier this year now, and they had the best Rocket League team. And for some reason they then disappeared. I don't know why they dropped off. And now their team is with Team Dignitas. And Team Dignitas now have the best Rocket League team around. And I'm like, you had the best team and you decided to drop? Just drop out of esports? Like, was it that expensive? Or were you just trying to run it yourself? And that's what's confusing, because with these larger companies, investment is bigger. And I know it's, you know, it has its up and downs, especially with like Infinite Entertainment with Optic and its parent company. And even Hector's talked about that himself. But you know, with smaller companies, it's very much like I don't think that they really tend to have a lot of particularly skilled management to be able to work with this. And this isn't offensive to anyone, but like sometimes you see the people that get put into positions that are like, look, our new general manager, he's 15. What?
Yeah,
he's 15? What does he know? Like he's not going to know anyone. He's not going to know anything. He's not going to know who's the best team.
And he's a little kid.
Yeah, he's a little kid, and I admire the I guess the what's the word, ambition to be able to get there. But at the same time, you're 15, and like the hardest thing is like so I'm best friends with the general manager of Frontside. He's only 17, but he was one of the few 17-year-olds. He's now just 18, actually. He was one of the few 18-year-olds that, you know, we started working together, 1 year, 2 years ago. And for his age, he was incredibly smart. Like, this boy was doing business. This boy was incredibly knowledgeable about esports. And usually, I was like, I'm not sure about this. But he showed, and like, this is where you have to prove that you are, like, you know, you're worth the investment. You're worth the investment. He was like he showed me that he was worth working with, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna work with you. And we built our own esports team, and if I hadn't been doing NextGen, I probably would have been able to put more of my time into it. But most of the time, I was kind of like the guy behind him. Like, we talk about stuff that needs to be sorted. He was incredibly effective at making it happen. So basically, he was pretty much running the esports team, and I was cool with him doing that. And we got to that point where this was before Fortnite began, that we were like, you know, he was like, Fortnite's about to take off, and I can see these players are gonna be hot, like big up in there. And I was like, okay, so let's start looking for investment. And we went for an investor, and he was completely down for it for a while, and then, you know, he brought on teams, started making decisions without us, because unfortunately we had to give up majority control, and that's where it started to get rough, because he brought on people that we weren't cool with, didn't even talk to us about it. He brought on, you know, players that we didn't even know, and then like this moment one of those teams was going to go pro, he was immediately like, okay, either I'm going to leave or you're going to give me all your shares. And it turned nasty, because he just wanted to own the whole thing, and it was so disappointing. And we had to, you know, make so many people aware of what was going on, because we were just like, honestly, if we leave, like, we're the reason this began. If we leave, he's going to struggle. And they tried to kick me out, because they were just like, oh, well, you shouldn't be the owner, because you're not here working all the time for it. And I was just kind of like, okay, I get that I'm not working as hard as I could. That's not my fault. I run another company alongside it. But I'm also the owner. Like, my mate is essentially the CEO. And, like, I pretty much nearly got booted out, and I was just like, you know what, they're going to die. And they died. And it was disappointing just because of investment. So the one thing I definitely say to esports teams starting out is, you know, either have the funding within yourself, or you need to partner yourself early with people who have that kind of money that they can put in towards teams.
Be
Bulldog
careful with what you
Esports
wish
is
for.
one of the ones. Yeah, 100%. Bulldog Esports is a great example. They're a UK company, and I'm pretty sure they do most of the funding themselves. If not, they have an investor. But, you know, it's very much run by the owner, and he's very much sure about the decisions that he makes, and they've been running a long time, and they're great to see. And he's probably like his dad age for sure. So he's probably only about, he might not even be 30. So if he sees this, I'm gonna get blasted at some point in time.
He's gonna come at you. You'll be like, I'm that age.
I'm only 25.
Huh? I'm 5. He calls
I
you.
don't know how old
you know
he
I'm
is,
20, right?
Lord.
Really? Yeah.
Well, he could be young. You never know these days. But like, as much as I don't get to work with them, unfortunately, I really admire how they run their esports team. So that's definitely one thing for smaller esports teams. Like, work out your investment early, and work out your management early. We spent a long time with management things. Like, we've been through our own rough phases, and we pretty much had to like clear house at one point. We just let everyone go, and I was just like, you know what? While we get ourselves back on track, I'll do most of the work, and David will do most of the marketing work and reaching out to people. And he's been dealing with the back end of stuff that most people won't see. Most of the front end you'll see me doing, but he has such a like role in everything we do. So, you know, whilst you may not hear from him and most of the tweets and most of the graphics and me, you know, he's very much like, yeah, he's in the planning meetings with all of it. We've been sitting down with our financial advisor a lot, of which, like, I'm actually planning to take a trip out to America. So hopefully, I don't know. Wait, it might be longer than a week now.
Hello.
When is it? I'm just thinking like
It's about
we
a
could
week away.
potentially do the next podcast.
It's about a week
in the
away.
same place.
Yeah.
It's just over a week.
Yeah. We can make it happen. That's fine.
We could either make it happen or just have it a little bit delayed.
Well, we
Now,
could
we'll
just
do-
record next week's podcast early.
Yeah.
And
so
then record the
one
week
in 2
after
weeks'
that
time.
early. And then
Yeah.
we get like a week and a half break. Yeah.
That works. Yeah,
We'll want to
so-
die for 3 days, but it's fine.
a little bit. Yeah. So the one after, not next week's, but the week after, we might actually be able to do this in person, which would be good fun.
Yeah. As long as everything goes well, we'll see you in a week.
As long as it goes well, yeah. And you know, we're never gonna say much about it. We're just gonna
Let her
keep it
happen.
under wraps.
Yeah.
But it's like, honestly, don't doubt us when it comes to being there.
Yeah, I don't want to get my
Hopefully-
service cut.
Hmm?
I don't want to get my service cut, so I'm just not gonna tell anyone.
You're hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. This is a good little chat. We're 38 minutes in. Hey, yo.
Dang.
One thing we did want to talk about, and you know, actually, I'm going to mention this briefly because I'm the designer here, is teams and their branding files.
I'll go to bed. Hold on, let me go take my nap.
You're funny.
See you
No, we
later.
ain't talking that. Sitting back. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, we have a build your brand system on our website that allows you to purchase a store from us and individually choose the products that you have in your store that
Or-
we'll design for you.
Or
No.
bug Dan and staff to make designs that you really want made. That's what I use it for.
Yeah. We don't advise that.
I do.
It's on the rare occasion that I will do a design for you without having been paid for.
Yeah, I
It's
know. I
not
have to
me
make.
just being stingy. It's just that's how I live right
I
now.
have to make a gift card. I have to buy it. Then I.
Oh, you didn't even need to do that. That's the thing. You could have just asked, and that's how you chose to go about it.
It worked.
He made it. It's true. He made a gift card on the site, then purchased the store, and he was like, "Dad, I want products." I was like, "Why didn't you just ask?" Because I wouldn't have got your attention.
Exactly. You're too busy. You have to make
that's
sure
funny.
you see it in your sales, and you're like,
That's
"Ooh,
true.
I got a sale," and then you're like, "Oh, it's David. Never mind."
Funny. But that's definitely one thing I'll comment on is that most teams come to us with a PNG. Now, I don't know who y'all getting your stuff like designed by, but stop it. Like, when you get your design branded made, your designer needs to be able to make it in a vector file, which is AI, which is Illustrator. It needs to be potentially in a PSD as well, and then a PNG.
I'm just
PNG
agreeing,
is just
yeah.
for online stuff. You have to think about if your brand is going to be bigger, if you're going to have apparel made, it needs to be like a high quality. And PSD is not a high quality. PNG is even lower quality. And most of the time, before I can even get started, I have to remake branding in order for it to be like a good enough quality for me to actually be able to use. And like, that's just one thing to go off the bat. Like, teams, please sort out your branding. Please already have these pieces already made. Please already have your files in order, because it goes way further than just I've got a design. And I know it's a lot of the time designers. So one thing that I do is why I encourage you to come to us or to another company or to even specialized designer about your apparel designs is not everyone can do it. You need to know the correct software. When I started, no, I didn't. I just knew how to use Photoshop, knew how to use mockups. Eventually, I learned that you needed to use print files, and that was from me working with companies and getting myself to a point where I could clearly make them well enough in Photoshop. I just had to learn to make them on a flat spread on Illustrator, because that's the print file that goes to the companies or the manufacturers and gets the products made. Now, it's very difficult to get those files, which is why you have to get your level of work up to that point where you're regularly making jerseys in Photoshop. A company will allow you to at least potentially learn with them, and I'm certainly down with that, where I'm like, I can teach you how to learn AI if your designs are clearly to that quality. Because right now, I'll explain the process as I do. Most of the time, I will design in Photoshop, then I will redesign the product in Illustrator and make the print file. I do admire Nubler. He works at MetaThreads. Somehow he's able to. What is that? What have you just done? Is there an angel below? What is that?
He came from the wrong direction. He got lost.
And ended up under your desk.
It happens, I guess.
Hilarious.
Monica Lewinsky, I'm telling you. Okay, anyways.
Lol. Yeah, but Nubler, he's got his own AI files that are already in the mockup. No idea how he did it. Amazing designer. He does great at what he does. I won't rant about that too much. Just encouragement to teams.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Of course. And the one thing I did actually want to mention is I saw this tweet from a guy who was comparing really big esports teams compared to the branding of smaller teams, and he was like, these teams that are smaller almost created their own brand and subculture, where it's this mascot logo type thing. It's always like dragons or various animals with the same kind of text for their name, and he was just like, I didn't know how this happened. And there was all sorts of people saying it's a monetary thing, but you know what the funny thing is people like me, I charge less for a normal logo than I do for a mascot logo, because a mascot logo requires a lot more skill to make it, because obviously there's the various levels of shading. It's the kind of the whole cartoon character that you're having to create, and that's usually more expensive than to get a normal logo. And you look at the Team Liquid logo, it's beautifully simple. And it looks great on apparel because it's beautifully simple. The more complicated it is, the harder it is to create. And, that doesn't work within sublimated stuff because you can create that however. But, just a bold look, especially the way that fashion is going. That's one thing that I haven't talked about, is that NextGen is really, really inspired by fashion trends and how the fashion world works. Everything we make is very much inspired by that, to be a casual wear, not just esports wear, because most people, when you walk down the street, aren't going to know what esports is, but they'll know if your stuff looks good. So that's how we kind of roll with things. But the funny thing is a mascot logo tends to cost you 100, maybe a bit more, 100 to 200, depending on who you use. A normal logo probably won't cost you as much, and if your designer really knows what you're doing, like me, it's actually worth probably paying the same amount. And this isn't me being I got a degree, but the one thing I actually is useful having a degree, because there was so much more I learned as compared to learning by myself. Even just stuff like spacing, negative space, understanding how white works on black and black works on white. Do you know how many people miss that basic thing? They're like, oh, let me get something white, and I'm like, it's on a white background or it's on a grey background. You can't see it. And it's the beautiful, simple things. But honestly, the design world is simplicity right now. So for those of you with teams, maybe worth looking into that. And then simple logos, because it's more memorable in the future. Look at Nike. You'll remember that Nike logo forever. All it is a swoosh. Is it? There's no extra stuff added to it. It's beautifully simple. I love how we said simple at the same time. Okay. Woo.
That was a rant. That's what that was. I'm sorry. That was your own podcast inside the podcast.
Yeah, I guess so. Accidentally so.
So good.
Okay, do you want to go with 100 Thieves or do you want to go with Call of Duty?
Oh boy, where to start? Well, technically 100 Thieves is in Call of Duty, so if you want to get super technical about Dan, we're talking about the same thing.
I wondered if you were going to say that, you know? I actually wondered if you were going to say that. Oh, that's funny.
We saw it coming.
You know what, let's go with Call of Duty. What are you thinking for this next season coming up?
Holy moly. If I could use bad language, I would have. That's where I'm at. No. It's going to be an exciting season. You know, we switched to 5v5.
That was a big move in itself.
It was a big move. And it's good for us because, you know, 2 extra sales per 2 teams. But, hey.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, but, like, you know, people don't realize that there's so much more skill required now. The more people you have, the more communication skill you need to have. If you don't have good communication skill, you're toast. Like, you will literally be on my, you know, I almost said piece of paper. You will literally be on my plate in the morning because of how toasted you'll be. Like, it'll, you know, you're putting yourself, that was terrible. You're
tragic but hilarious at the same time.
Oh, boy. You know, you need to pick your team members more carefully too now, because if you pick the one wrong person, makes or breaks the team. You know, or if one right person makes the team, one wrong person breaks the team. So if you're not careful, you know, you're throwing yourself in this situation or this predicament where, you know, you toast. Like,
pretty much.
Like, you know, and you know, we have Blackout now. Oh, love it. Can't wait for Dan to buy me this new game, but you know, like, you know, it's so exciting because it's something, you know, oh, but we have Fortnite. Leave me alone. You know, Call of Duty put its own twist on it. I love it. You know,
that's what I love about it.
Over Fortnite. It's not because it's Call of Duty. It's because I like it more, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And PUBG.
Well, the one thing remember, there's the differences in, like, one is third view, one is first view. And the one thing that always, it was always cringy a little bit about Fortnite was the third party view. Like, I've never really liked third person views.
It's a whole new, you know, like, thing to it, you know. Like, because we don't get third person shooters that often.
No, it's true.
So it's something different. And it's probably cheaper to design or not design, but to use that point of view over first person. But the big advantage Call of Duty had was they had all this, you know, Fortnite's grossed a lot of money in the last couple of years. Thing is, Call of Duty grossed that in the last 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have the funding to make sure that their game's good. And they have David Vonderhaar, so.
Yeah, this is very true.
You know, they're already a step ahead. But that's how I'm looking at, you know, it's going to be a lot more skill. It's going to be a lot more careful with team picking. The way people pick teams is going to be different now. Rosters are going to be flying up and down, you know.
Yeah, there might actually be more switches as compared to before, which doesn't really help us in the apparel world because obviously we need to know stuff, you know, information a certain time
as it happens.
Yeah. Before, like, you know, once an order goes in, I don't really want to change it because, you know, that stuff it's human error. Human error starts to come into the equation, where it's not what I've just written down on the spreadsheet. It's like I have to change your order halfway through, which is actually why we're doing the deal we are now. You know, the reason being is to encourage teams to plan ahead early, even if you don't know the names of your teams, to already have their jerseys booked. If you know you're definitely going to an event and you definitely want to go,
yeah, we can start the printing and then just have them kept on the back end for a while. And once you know team names, that's a day in production, and then you know we just send them out. So you're only waiting at most 7 days for your jersey, whenever time comes around. You know, because names will depending on how big the people's names are. You know, like if we have 10,000 people that are, you know, have 30 billion letters to their name, it's going to be a little bit more than a day. But, you know, in general, it should take about 2-3 days for printing then.
Well, the one thing I put with the deal we have at the moment is that, like, it runs till the 30th and you can order in that time and then we will hold your order until the 30th. And we will confirm it with you on the 30th to be like, this is your team names. You good? You say you're good, they go into printing. And then they arrive at you. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I'm trying to encourage teams not to have this jumping up and down. I'm just like, I think a lot of small teams don't contract their players. It's just like, hey, want to work for us? And then that guy gets pissed off when the game goes bad, disappears. Yeah, and I've even had one team who was just like, oh, 3 out of 5 members of our team have left. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay, what do you want me to do? And he was like, can you try and take the names off? And I was just like, I'll see where it's at, but I can't guarantee it. And I couldn't guarantee it. And, the jerseys arrived to me without any names. So now they had to go through the remake, which is a whole other, the time frame starts again.
I want them.
And the problem is because then people wait for so long. They're like, oh, it's bad service. And I'm like, it's on you too. Like,
Yeah.
And people don't like hearing it because obviously, they like to play the customer's always right. But
Yeah.
we try and work with all our teams. This isn't just a we want your money. This is a partnership. This is like every order is a partnership.
Well, take all your money over the course of a couple years.
Hilarious. You're funny.
No, but the thing is, even Call of Duty knows. That's why CWL doesn't start until February this year. Because they know this one extra person is going to cause a huge... If it was 4 people, still, it'd be starting next month. But it's not. Yeah. So they're giving people time to recollect, really analyze who they want on their teams.
And actually get good at it. Like, get good at the game, because it's a completely different game, completely different mechanical system, completely different feel to it. You've got to learn how to be good at it, and then you've got to learn how to work with 4 other people.
Well, the big thing is, by doing that, there's so many big teams, over 100, that opened up 100 new places for new players to join in. So you're not going to be discouraged this year. This year is going to be real, I want to get good. I want to join a pro team, that's this year. That's literally what this year is going to be.
The one thing that always amazes me about Call of Duty, though, is I feel that there's less... So, how in Rocket League there's teams that appeared... they don't have anyone sponsoring them. They've just funded themselves to go to this event and then they crush it. That doesn't really happen with Call of Duty a lot. Not many teams. It's like players that you just go to orgs and go, pay for us. And I'm just like, why don't you pay for yourself? Or what, you're too young to go? Maybe too young to compete then. If you want to prove who you are, pay for yourself to go to an event. Don't expect someone else to do it. Pay for yourself. And, if you get into the top 20, there's probably going to be people who will pick you up. If you're getting into the top 70, then you just have to realize that for some time, you're going to have to, keep on building up. And that's okay. That's part of the grind.
Practice.
Yeah, that's all it is. You just got to put in the work to be able to get yourself to that point. And then a team will go, you know what, you're worth picking up. And I'd happily pick up a team that was in top 20. Top 20 is amazing for Call of Duty. Especially if you're going to just keep on getting better. But as we said, if you're top 78, yeah, I want to see the progression. Work on it. Because you ain't making no money at top 78. You're not and therefore it's not worth someone else putting their money in you. And that's where you have to realize how that works. Even with football, every player they have on the team, they're paying per minute a stupid amount. So they need to have a good chance of being able to make it to the end of the season. And you know what happens if that doesn't work? Guess what? Who goes? The manager goes, because they're like, you know what? You're not bringing this team to the best of their abilities. You're not helping us to be able to get anywhere close to being able to make some money off this. Yes, they make money off every match, I think, but compared to winning the cup or winning the league,
if you win the cup, you make mad dough. Yeah,
it's mad money.
Let's get really good at soccer and just.
maybe that's the way to go.
That's the real career path. Sorry guys, next generation's good. We're closing it.
We're just gonna start. To be honest, I've thought about sponsoring
soccer teams.
Yeah, other either athletes themselves or teams in other sports. So why not let's make esports just a known thing within sports. Let's bring it to a mainstream point where the one thing I love about Nike is the campaigns they do is very much athletes from different sports, even skateboarding. And the beauty of that is that they bring skateboarding back into a mainstream front where it's this is a sport. Let's not forget that this isn't just a thing that people do when they get home in the evening. This is an event. This is a sport. And it'd be beautiful to see esports included within that, where someone actually sits down and grinds, they're playing a game and they lift a trophy at the end. Because there's so much money within esports and people forget that. So my aim is to be in a Nike of esports where actually we work with a number of teams, organizations, sports, And then we bring esports into that and elevate esports as a whole because of what we're doing in other areas as well. That's just a small little thing of like, I guess, my dream where this company will go. Yeah, this was an interesting topic, sponsorship.
Podcast 2, podcast 1.
Podcast 1. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about for this one?
Let me make sure I read this right, because I've been doing this thing recently where I'll read a word, completely mess it up in my head.
Nice.
I don't know what.
Okay.
So, growing a team.
Growing a team.
Yeah,
you wrote down this tip. All right. Yeah, it's not that easy.
Whenever it comes to growing a team, it comes down to proper management. Having a proper advertisement. Like not advertisement like, oh, let me go throw up this giant billboard in the middle of New York City. It's like more or less
advertising within your platforms.
Yes,
because like for example, one thing that people don't realize is the power of picture. Like, don't just put a post out, add an image. Yeah, exactly. They add an image with everything because that's what catches your eye, not the text. You won't see a tweet within a million tweets, but if you see an image, you might stop and read it, and then you read. Yeah, of course. And I always do my best to put, media with tweets as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Because that's what people, catches people's attention. I'll let you carry on.
But whenever you're growing an organization, it's really important that you pick people you can trust. Because if you don't have people you can trust in your organization, you're not gonna, it's not gonna run properly. Because you're trying to build a family. That's literally what an organization is. Yes, it's a business, but if you can't treat everyone like your brother, your sister, your mom, or your dad, it's not truly an organization. And ask any organization owner out there, they'll say the same exact thing. It's not easy building an org either. And that's what people need to realize. I see on the daily basis at least 4 brand new teams a day through the Twitter. Okay?
Yeah, easily.
I don't hear from them again after 5 months.
Nope.
Because they don't run properly. So it's really important, like next podcast, I really want to touch on proper management of an organization. Not too much this time. I want to touch on it later. But, it's really important to follow preceding steps of building a proper management structure. Because if you don't, you end up doing everything and it falls on your lap. Like whenever, no offense, Dan, but if David wasn't here, Dan would probably have jumped off a bridge by now. Like, because we try to relieve each other where we... That sounds really weird. But
Why? You have to throw it that way. We'll say it this way. Like, there's been days where he's had a stressful one, I've had a stressful one, and we're mostly just taking the weight off the other person. Where, like, there's been times where I've been near ill and near dying, and
you was dying, bro. Like,
there was days where I was actually dying. I was actually worried for my health, really worried for my health. And, fortunately, David was like, you know what, Dan, take the day off. I got you. I'll cover things. And he did, and I loved it.
For like a month, I just disappeared. I was going through a lot.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't really update Dan because it was, like, super personal. And I wanted to tell him, but, like, at the same time, I didn't know where to start. And at the end of it, like, whenever I got most of it sorted out, I told him. He was like, oh, oof. He was like, oh, I'm sorry.
No wonder.
But, since then, that was like, 2 months ago? Since then, we've just been busting out, like, we've been knocking out thing after thing after thing, especially the last 2 weeks, The last 2 weeks have probably been the most productive 2 weeks in a while. We've been doing so much behind the scenes. Actually, the last 3 weeks, I've been going all over the place, getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And, I want to die, my leg doesn't feel too good, but, we've just been busting out thing after thing after thing, announcement after announcement after announcement. We have all these initiatives coming out, and we have this podcast now. We're doing once a week, and hopefully, if you guys like it enough, twice a week, and make that big bucks.
Lol.
And there's so much we want to do. We have this new website coming out. We have all this stuff gathered up. Stuff that me and you have talked about doing for so long is now coming to life in the span of the next 3 weeks.
This is like insane. 5 months, 6 months. This is good half a year's work.
Yeah, we've always talked about doing it, and I'm like, I want to do it now, but we've been saving it for just, I want to say it, NextGen 2.0.
Well, that's essentially what I guess the secret name has been for all of this, because we're like, this is completely a different level to what we've been doing, and for that it requires a different level of skill, of planning, of preparation beforehand. It's mad.
You guys want to leave a tip with your order? We're broke, so the more money you send, the better.
Hilarious.
You can help us fund the site a little bit quicker. We can get everything out. We'll give you guys a free T-shirt over anything over $50. You get a free T-shirt, and I'll think about signing it.
Hilarious. I mean, to be honest, like having so we have investors and investment and basically a board that works for the company now, and that's been a huge help towards all this, because one thing people don't realize is that making a decision by yourself is probably not the greatest thing you can do. Reason being is that you won't know if it's good or not.
Anyone that donates, if you apply the American Eagle...
Stop, David! How are you going to throw it that way?
I have the power to do so. I might as well, right?
That's not the point. That's not the point. Oh, my word.
You know, it's been super hard because, you know, financially we were stuck for so long. And we got ourselves out of that hole.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And that, you know... Black Ops 4, you know, Dan was just trying to say, let me love you, but no, but like,
we'll
you know,
get it,
it's good. We're like, you know, nothing towards Dan, but like, saving wasn't our strong suit for a while.
No, that's true.
Yeah, cast all you want, but
yeah, tragically so.
Dan's gotten a lot better at it, which is good, because I don't really touch the funds too much. I mean, I touch them whenever I need them. That sounds really weird. But, you know, like...
What he means for business stuff, not for himself.
Yeah.
Though there has been occasional times where, like, you know, very recently he was in an accident. He was like, I need a bit of help. So we took out a profit.
Send me money for a bandage. That was great. Like, Dan, I'm sorry, I'm broke. Can you send me, like, $9 real quick?
It was double amounts as well. And I was just like, it's fine.
Like 2 in the afternoon. Dan, I'm dying. Listen, just... Please.
He was in hospital at one point. He came out and he was just like, I've got no money for food. And I was like, no money for food? And he was like, yeah, hospital bills in the USA. And I was like, move. And he was just like, yeah, I plan to. And I was just like, you know what? Here you go. Here's some money. Go get a meal. And like,
yeah, we help each other out.
Of course.
With the company's account. So really, we're just helping each other with what we did for each other anyways. So.
I mean, to be honest, most of my designs just go towards stuff like that. So it's money that really we're able to use to be able to just further the company. And because really, when it comes to designs, I'm very good and very quick at them. That's not even being cocky.
Yeah, no, it's terrifying. I've been in calls with this man, and you know, I'll be like, "Oh, that's what needs done." You know, try to get that within 5 hours. 30 seconds later, it's done. I'm like, "Okay, Dan."
He like even with some of the clients that we've been working with, he was just like, "Dan, I need this within the next day. Had it done within 5 minutes." And I said, "Here you go." And he was just like, "You did it already?" And I was like, "Fam, it's not even hard." And like that's the thing. I'm not being cocky. I'm just very efficient at what I do. And I keep it to a high quality as well, and that's always been the pursuit of stuff. And you know, that's definitely one thing to definitely get better at. Designers like learn to be quick and good, because if you're quick and good, it means that you earn more money for doing basically the same thing as if it takes just someone else to do. Yeah, so if it takes me an hour to do a design, and I can do there's 24 hours in a day. How much can I make in 24 hours as compared to someone else who's taking 3-4 hours to make a design?
Yeah.
And most of the time, I think it's honestly because, like, the one thing I learned from my good degree is research is so key. Research into, you know, what's current, what's going on in the world, like what looks good today, what other people are doing, and from that, most of my designs are a collaboration of different elements of people. And like, I could explain I could get a jersey design and show it to you and be like, this part was from this part was from that, this part was from this. But by taking all this together, create an entirely new element that, you know, you wouldn't have even thought of, because that's why no one can ever say like, hey, Dan's stuff looks like this. Why you're going to name one element from one place? No, it looks like a bunch of different things. But by taking that together, you create a beautiful new fusion. And that's one of the things that NextGen's great at. We create designs like no one else. and we do it for even less than most people. And I understand like people are like, oh, design, time, time is money, and I'm like, yeah, but for me to give a small amount of my time to be able to help some of these companies elevate themselves, it's all good. And most of the time, like, if you think about it, if you're paying me £25 for a jersey and it takes me half an hour, I earn 25 quid in half an hour.
Well, now that I think about it, I'll bring this up. You worked for AMP, didn't you? For a while.
I did work for AMP. Yeah, that's where I started.
I owned you. Like,
lol.
Well, no,
I just never even knew you existed.
Yeah, I was running everything on the back end because Alex, like, he knew what he was doing. Smart kid. I'm not gonna hate on him. But there was so much he had to learn that I knew that he didn't. So I supplied him with that knowledge.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I basically owned AMP for the longest time, and I could take Jack for it. And it's really insane to think that I've known Dan for so long, but I haven't known him that long. Because whenever we need something done, I'd message Alex, and Alex would message Dan. So third party, I was asking Dan for a question. It's insane to think. A year later, that was a year ago. Here we are.
Mad. Well, I think it's just over a year ago now. Must be a year and a half to 2 years.
I think he sold it in October of last year.
October. I was long gone from then. I stopped working from him in like February of last year. So a long time. But that's where I started, and like I look back at my designs for him now and I'm like, oh.
Well, it's an insane thing because that company I owned. Okay, so Alex started Energize Gum. Right?
Alright.
I bought Energize Gum. I fixed it. And then he bought it back from me. Then he made it worse. So then he made it AMP. Or Amplify Store. That was, accessories.
Mm-hmm.
Failed tremendously. Then he made it AMP Apparel. Did decent. Didn't do terrible. Pulled him in like $3,000 a month. Nothing too bad.
No, that's alright.
And then it started doing terribly again. So I sold it off. That Twitter account, I'll put it this way, that Twitter account was between me and him for over 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was 4 different companies in that time span.
That's crazy.
Suicide fuel is what it is, yeah.
Mad. Beautiful origins. We were going to talk about franchising esports, but it's also been an hour. It's been a whole hour.
Dang. I'd be down if we didn't have an hour mistake before this,
Funny. I mean, to be honest, there's not really much to talk about right now, but we'll leave that topic till next time. This is good fun. I hope you guys honestly don't mind the time frame. I know it's a long time.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. Like, I've been yawning this whole time. It's because I'm half dead. I didn't drink enough coffee, and I drank like 5 mil. Like, if I could talk, 2 liters of coffee.
This took longer than we expected. Like, when did you text me that we were gonna start? It's now 6:05. I usually leave the office at 5. You text me at.
It's just like 4 this morning. At
3:30. 3:30. It's taken us 2.5 hours, and only an hour's been recording. Mad, but we learned from this. We've sorted out many issues in the process. It's going to be a lot smoother from here on out. Thank you guys all for. Yeah, very much. Of course.
Everything's cut off your outro.
You did.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. That's how it is. Everything's a learning experience. Like every day is a learning experience with NextGen. We learn something new about ourselves, about
because we are the next generation.
Exactly.
Sorry, I want to do that the whole time.
Is that how you're gonna outro it every time now? We're the next generation. That's hilarious.
I went, but I'm totally going to now. So
brilliant.
Me every time.
Anyway, this boy. Thank you all for tuning in today. I know it's been one hell of a podcast. We're going to do this weekly, so feel free to like it, subscribe. If you've got any comments on anything we said, feel free to leave them below, and we will reply to most of them as long as it's actually worth replying to.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, of course. Like it's constructive criticism. If it's just a comment on stuff, we'll reply back to you. We love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have anything that you think we should do, that we should go into, the products that we should bring in, mention all these things, because we genuinely take everything on as feedback, and we want to be the best company out there. So you guys are the way to help us be that. But for now, we're gonna let you guys go. We hope you guys all have a good evening, morning, wherever it is, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Oh, it ended with the mic drop.
Smile, smile, smile.